Teachers, thank you so much for joining me on this Friday, the second to last Friday before summer school's out. I know you've had a long but awesome day of motivating our great summer school campers and motivating yourself today, but it is Friday and I'm only going to take about 15 minutes of your time to talk to you about some resources that I have found for addressing disruptive behavior in the classroom. So what I'm talking about, or some examples of what I'm talking about, are when students are engaged in yelling, when they threaten violence of any sort repeatedly against you or their classmates, when they engage in arguments repeatedly with you, with other students, when talking, laughing, or crying at inappropriate times or lengths of time happens frequently, and other behaviors that interrupt instruction. There are so many, but behaviors that happen frequently enough. We all have disruptive behaviors in our classroom, but when that behavior happens repeatedly enough, it's time to reevaluate what we're doing. If that behavior happens frequently enough with a specific student, again, it's time for us to look at what we're doing with the student, what we're doing for the whole group. It's time to just reevaluate some things. But I do want to give you some tools to put in your toolbox to help you deal with these disruptive behaviors. And I'm going to start with a game that I found. It's called the Great Behavior Game. And the good thing about this is that you can sign up for a free account. You can have multiple rosters, and you can put in as many students as you need to. So this is what each student's name is going to look like. Of course, that's a zoomed in version. This might be an example of what your class looks like up here. It'll put the names in alphabetical order for you. And then you'll notice under Austin's name, Austin has 10 dots. And every time Austin does something well, Austin answers a question correctly, Austin walks in line with his mouth closed, whatever it is that he's doing, he earns a point. You have to manually put these in. Now when he gets to 10, he can earn a star. And you can see that throughout the day, it'll keep up with the number of dots you have. Once they get 10, it'll clear this and a yellow star will light up. So right now, this child has a total of 52 points. And then at the end of the day, if they've earned 100 points, then this big star goes off. One of the things that I don't like about this is that it does not keep up with rewards for you. You have to decide on what the rewards are going to be. You have to decide on how often a child gets a reward, that kind of thing, which is no big deal. But you also have to be able to keep up with this when you're going and down the hallway or going to music. So that's one thing to think about, but this will print off a report at the end of each day for individual students, for the class, and those are things that are beneficial, especially when you are dealing with challenging behaviors from a specific student or a group of students. The one thing that you can't do with this is put in reasons why you have given points or not given points. But it does allow you to generate that report at the end of the day and to have a record of that student's behavior. One that I like that's similar to this, that I like a little bit better, is going to be Class Dojo. So I'm going to get out of this for just a second. I actually want to take you to Class Dojo, the website, and show you some of the features of Class Dojo. So here is what your dojo will look like, and you can see that Prezioso has 28 students and 26 of my parents have joined in. The great thing about this is that parents can join your Class Dojo. So anything that happens during the day, parents can see. So as you can see, I have given the whole class a point. So that's one thing that you can do with this. Abigail has earned a point. Braden, it's time for him to earn a point. And I like how you have the option of choosing positive or needs work. Well, we're a PBIS school, so of course we'd always choose the positive, or most of the time we would put the needs work things in an individual letter to parents. But when you have Class Dojo displayed like this, this will come up, and so the child can see and his peers can see that Braden was on task. And so he gets a point for that. And so every time a child hears that, they're going to be looking to see if they're earning points. You can also have children grouped and give groups points. Another feature of this that I really like is that you can then put information on a class story, which is kind of like the Facebook for a classroom. This tool is pretty awesome. And as you can see in this classroom, there are some announcements on here. This was a news story about Braden. And then we've got 5th grade celebration at 9 a.m. But you can also use this class story to post pictures and things. I'm not sure why these pictures are not coming up, but that's okay. These are actual photographs that were uploaded to this class story, so parents can view it. You can see how many viewed this. You can see that Class Dojo will translate for you. You can see that 2 parents liked this and that 15 actually viewed this. Here's some pictures. So this is a great tool for behavior, because then you can brag on students on your class story. One other thing that you can do is you can message parents with this tool, and you can message the whole class or you can message just one individually. And the last thing I want to show you about this before we move on is that you can download your message history, but you can also generate reports. And let me go to reports. And so you can see exactly what happened with Abigail today, with the whole class. We can do Alana, she's got nothing for today. You can print this information and again, keep a record for yourself. All right, let's go back and look at another resource. Okay, we have the Behavior Problems Resource Kit. The Behavior Problems Resource Kit is a tool that is pretty awesome because it helps you do 3 things. It helps you identify the problem. It helps you choose an intervention that is either an antecedent intervention, a behavioral intervention, or a consequence intervention. And then it's going to help you to gather data throughout to help you evaluate the effectiveness of that intervention. Whoops, I skipped a slide. All right, so first thing about this book is that when you're trying to pinpoint the problem behavior, which seems sort of funny because of course you know what the behavior is. The child drives you crazy or drives the neighbors crazy, whatever. But the first thing that you really want to do is to gather some information on the child. You want to get some family history, you want to get medical history, developmental history. There may be other things that are going on, some underlying issues that are causing the behavior. You want to get to know the child educationally and any interventions that have been tried in the past. And so this book has a great questionnaire, and it's pretty lengthy, but it takes you through all that history and helps you gather that information. There are behavior questionnaires for home and school. And then there are recording forms so that you can do your ABC and you can do your functional behavior assessment. After that is complete, then you can take a look at some of the interventions and their effectiveness in here. And as I said, this book is broken down into 3 different types of interventions. And then what I mean by effectiveness is there are ways for you to gather data throughout your time with this child on a behavior intervention, for you to understand whether the intervention is effective or if it's not effective. It'll help you graph the data. It'll help you share information with parents. So it's really a comprehensive tool when it comes to RTI and behavior interventions. This is another way to report the effectiveness of the interventions to parents. The book I just showed you is a great way to share with parents, and they get the same form all the time, but you have to fill it out each day. Something that this does, and you're going to get this presentation, this has a report card maker, and this link will take you directly there. The one thing that I like about this is that you have to fill in just a little bit of information, but you can just point and click the interventions that you're using and point and click the areas in the building that you're using those interventions in, or you can add your own. There are several different types of rating scales that you can use, and then there's an area for you to say whether the intervention was accomplished that day or not accomplished, whether Johnny was able to accomplish the goal or not accomplish the goal, and then a place for the parent signature. So this is great because you can print multiple copies of this. If the child lives with 2 different parents, it'll print it. If the child is prone to losing things, or you just want to make sure that a copy goes in his file, each day you can print off 5 copies of this same form, and then Johnny's mom will always, or Johnny's dad will always get to see what happened that day. The pre-referral intervention manual is something that you can use before you decide to put the child on a behavior plan, but this is literally full of 212 interventions, 219, excuse me, to try. Those 219 do include some academic interventions, but the whole ending section of the book, starting with page 99, these are all behavior interventions that you can try. There's just about anything that you can think of, any behavior that you can think of, like failing to make appropriate use of study time, rushes through assignments with little to no regard of accuracy or the quality of work, does not turn in homework assignments, engages in inappropriate behaviors related to bodily functions, cannot fasten articles of clothing, last but not least, does not raise hand when appropriate. So anything that you can think of is in this book, and then along with that are a page and sometimes the back of a page, like for example, this intervention 26, or behavior example 26 is unsuccessful in activities requiring listening. There are 41 different things that you can try with this child. So this is a great resource. And then the last thing that I want to share with you is an article. The title of the article is The Effects of Classroom Interventions on Off-Task and Disruptive Classroom Behavior in Children with Symptoms of ADD. And this is a meta-analytic review. So this is not going to be the best reading, the most fun reading that you could do this weekend, but it is pretty interesting. This research found that, and one of the things that we already knew, is that interventions typically work better when they're carried out in the general education classroom, when the teacher is the one doing the reinforcing, the intervention's the one that the child sees the most. And also they found, which I thought this was interesting, is that consequence-based interventions and those that focus on self-regulation seem to be the most effective interventions. But it does, of course, depend on the child, and it does, of course, depend on symptoms. So these are just a few tools that you can use, interesting reading, but things that we have here on campus or can access from the campus that you can try to help to dispel that disruptive behavior in your classroom, things that you can do proactively, and ways that you can share this information with parents. So I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I appreciate you being such a captive audience on this Friday. Thank you.